My name is Jenni Harris, and I'm the 5th generation of White Oak Pastures in Bluffton, Georgia. I was born here on this farm in 1986. I had a great childhood. A big part of that was being with my dad. I was his constant shadow. The term that he used to use was, I hung with him like a hair on a biscuit. And I guess I was the hair and he was the biscuit. I knew very early on that I was different. You know, girls talk just like boys talk, and I knew that the things that girls were talking about I couldn't relate to. You know, I always thought maybe I'm a late bloomer, maybe I just don't get it, you know. But after a while it finally started just not clicking, and to the point where I would even memorize what other girls were saying about which boys were which and, you know, this and that and the other, just so I could fit in. I was the homecoming queen, I was Miss SGA, I was, you know, successful in school. I went to college, I met a lot of great people and I learned more about who I was, but again, I knew that I either had to choose personally or professionally what type of fulfillment I wanted. I couldn't possibly have both and live here. I figured that I was strong enough to choose one and commit and go that route and make myself happy. After college, my dad formed a rule. You have to work for someone else for a year before you can work for your dad. So I moved home 365 days after I moved to Atlanta, and I started working at White Oak Pastures. And I kind of reverted back to what I was when I was little, which was my dad's shadow. We would work all day, we'd eat every meal together, we'd end the day riding in the pasture drinking a bottle of wine, one each. I quickly gained 20 pounds when I moved home because of all the wine. I could not hang with my dad, bottom line, but I was learning a lot. White Oak Pastures has been in my family for over 150 years. My father managed it with lots of chemical fertilizer. He used all the tools that science gave him to make meat production cheap and easy. Dad talks about fighting nature for decades, you know, using chemical fertilizer to kill off, you know, weed species that weren't desired at that moment, cutting down trees, and all of these things that from a natural perspective wouldn't happen. In 1995, my dad gave up chemical fertilizer. That was the first thing that he did. In the early 2000s, he quit confinement feeding. And then in 2008, constructed one of the first on-farm USDA inspected processing abattoirs in the nation. Today, we pasture raise and hand butcher 10 species of animals on our farm. Grass-fed beef, lamb, and goat, and pastured chickens, turkeys, ducks, geese, guineas, hogs, and rabbits. When he made the decision to quit fighting nature, he realized that nature could do a whole hell of a lot better job than he could. I had been living on the farm for 2 years, in and out of relationships, just figuring it out. Amber and I were set up on a blind date, and we've been together ever since. We've talked every day since that day. We committed to being in a relationship, and we made the decision that if it wasn't going to be that, then we were going to be done. Every person that has a story like mine gets to a breaking point where it's like, all right, this is it, make or break, this is what's going to happen. But I'd gotten to that point because I was so comfortable and so sure of my relationship with Amber. So I just blurted it out and said, I'm gay. I made the decision to say it out loud, and I haven't tried to hide it since then.
You know, when Jenni told me she was gay, this doesn't sound right, but I really didn't care. I wanted her to be happy, and if she liked girls instead of boys, that was her business. It didn't matter with me. And if that's the way it was, in rock and roll, that's what we'll do.
Amber is the most precious person in my life. and she selflessly gave up everything about her life to relocate to Bluffton, Georgia, just for us to have the opportunity to build a family together. Jack was born December the 6th, 2016. I carried him, which in a relationship with 2 wombs could go either way. We have literally been chasing him ever since he was born. I never knew that life could be this good. For a long time, I had to compartmentalize who I was, and it wasn't because of pressure that anyone put on me. It was pressure that I put on myself, but I discounted the value of the holistic approach to who I was. You know, I let people know this part or this part or this part, but finally I just said, okay, this is me. This is the whole thing. And a lot of that is mirrored in our farm. We had all of these parts and pieces, but we were never able to quite figure out how they went together. And then at some point when we embraced the picture that they paint working together in symbiotic relationships to form a whole picture that makes it White Oak Pastures. It makes it Jenni Harris. Boom! Was that the mic drop? Okay, good.